Well, welcome to Go for Lunch. Glad to see you are all here today. We've got some little things to talk about that I think are going to be helpful for you. That is always my goal, is to help you learn something new. And of course, I always learn something new by researching the topics for Go for Lunch. So today we are going to talk about why our screen is not showing up the way I think it should. I think it's there now. Let's wait a few seconds so I can see. We have about a 20-second delay between the time that I do something and it shows up on YouTube. So I'm watching my iPhone here, which is my monitor, and there. Okay, sorry for that. Just had to make sure you were seeing the presentation. So we're going to talk about iPhone photography. This all started when I was trying to control live photos on my iPhone and found out that the way to control it wasn't so simple. So I wanted to pass that on to you. This is Go for Lunch number 79. I'm Roger Harmon, your host, founder of GoFor Technology. We're making your technology work for you is what we do every Tuesday at noon, and in between times with personal visits to your place. This is the Veterans Day edition of Go for Lunch. So Veterans Day is the 11th, Thursday of 11th of November. So make sure we take some time out to be thankful for those that served to keep our country free, and especially those that gave their lives as the ultimate sacrifice so that we could continue to enjoy the lifestyle that we do. So, first of all, let's talk about live photo or not. So, what exactly is live photos? Well, it is a 3-second video. So, when you push the button on your iPhone screen to take a picture and live photos is activated, it actually takes a little 3-second video. And what that does is it gives you the opportunity to choose the best in that sequence. Usually you get like about 7 images, 6 or 7 images. So the traditional application for that is you've got a group of people, families gathering together. You take a picture and somebody blinks. So in this situation, then you can get an image before or after that blink and keep that as the image that you want. So that's the advantage of live photos. Now, for me, I take a lot of landscape photos, and the mountains don't blink. So I don't want the live photo on because I don't need it. And the second reason I don't want it on is because it is a little video file. And video files are bigger than single image photos. So it takes up more room everywhere you store that video, whether it be on your iPhone or on your Mac. So I don't want to take up that extra storage space when I don't need it. So what I found out when I went to disable this was it's not as simple as I thought it would be. So how do you disable live photos? Well, first of all, this is very important. You have to turn it off in the camera mode in your iPhone. So when you're in the camera app on your iPhone, you turn off live photos. Then you go to settings, you go to camera, you go to preserve settings, and you flip a little switch that says live photos. So let's just demonstrate that here. We'll put up our iPhone. This is an iPhone 11 Pro Max running iOS 14.8, I believe is the latest version. So you see our settings here in the 4th row, second from the left. We tap on that. And then I'm going to go to the top so you can see where the camera setting is. So here we're at the very top. So these are sections between these gray bars. I call these sections. So we have the first section that says airplane mode, the second section says notifications, third section says general, fourth section says app store, and now here in the 5th section that starts with passwords, we come down to, oh, I'm sorry, it's the 6th section. So you have to scroll down quite a bit, and then it starts with music, and then you see that we have the camera. So we tap on the camera, and then the 5th one down here is preserve settings. Kind of innocuous there. So we tap on preserve settings, and we get a lot of different choices here. So the one we're going to talk about first is live photo. So you may not be able to read this, but it says below live photo, preserve the live photo setting rather than automatically reset to live photo turned on. So because we turned live photo off before we went to preserve settings, then it's going to stay off. If we slide this switch the other way, turn so it's not green anymore, like that, then it's automatically going to turn on live photos every time you go to the camera app, but we want it not to come on. So while we're here, let me point out the second section here where it says creative controls. So in preparing for this, I also noticed that my aspect ratio was not 16:9, which I wanted it to be, and that's because I didn't have this switch turned on. So it's the same kind of thing. Whatever I set as aspect ratio will stay now because the creative control switch is turned on. So that's the way that works. So let's go back here and see what is happening. We have a question from Stanley that I'm going to get to at the end. And I'd like to welcome Doriana and Deb and Diana. And Bob has a question here, and Carolyn. So Bob says, does this video start before you press the button or just as you press the button? No, it only starts when you press the button. It doesn't pre-roll is the technical term for what you're describing there, Bob. When you press the button, it starts recording that little 3-second video. Okay, so again, if you have a question, please type it in as you think of it. It takes about 20 to 30 seconds for it to show up on my end. So we will go back to talking about some other features in the camera settings. These are known as creative controls. So we're going to talk about aspect ratio, exposure, timer, and filters. So on my camera here, I'm going to go back to the home screen so I can show you how we do this. So here we are on the iPhone again, on the home screen. Now, one way to get to the camera is to use the control center, which you activate by putting your finger in the upper right hand corner of your iPhone screen and dragging down in a diagonal manner to the left, like that. Then you will notice here on the lower right we have a camera icon. Tap on that, and here we are with a scenic shot of my desk. So you see this is live, and so the icons along the top, which look like they're part of the app, are actually my monitor. Okay, so just wanted to make sure you didn't say, how come I don't have those icons on my iPhone? Okay, so how do we find these creative controls? I draw your attention to the little arrow pointing up in the center top. You see that little inverted V? Well, in Appleton, we call that a arrow. So we tap that arrow and it points down, and at the very bottom we see 7 icons that are our creative controls. You might be saying to yourself, Roger, there is only 6 there. Well, look, there's 7. So remember that one of them doesn't fit, and we'll talk about which one that is. So we're going to slide it back to see the first 6. So Flash, I think you know about Flash. I have flash turned off. You can tell it's turned off by the little the diagonal line through the lightning bolt. Then the next one is a creative control. It's a icon that has a crescent in the lower left and horizontal lines in the rest of the circle. So if we tap on that, something is supposed to happen. Interesting. This worked in rehearsal. Okay, we'll get back to that. The next one is live photos, which we've already talked about. Again, the diagonal line indicates it is turned off. Then here's what I was referring to, the aspect ratio. So we have 16:9 turned on. The other choices are square and 4:3, which was the old aspect ratio of TVs before we got the flat screen TVs. So, and square is there because it is used in some of the social media like Instagram. So normally you want 16:9, and of course when you're taking pictures with your iPhone, you want your iPhone in the landscape position, and the lens should be on the top here like I'm showing you. Okay, so don't do this. Take your pictures in landscape mode unless you're taking pictures of giant redwoods. That's the only exception, or maybe tall saguaro cactus. I'll let you have a tall saguaro cactus. Okay. So back to the phone. So that is aspect ratio. To get out of here, you click on the dark circle on the left there that says 16:9, and now we're back to our little menu. The next one is a circle with a plus and minus, and that is our exposure. Oh, I see the problem. We can't see it because it's so dark. It's so white on my little box here. So now you can see it a little better, I think. So you see there at the bottom it says 0, 0, has a tall vertical line, and then you can move this over here, and let's get something dark in here. There we go. A little microfiber cloth to the rescue. Okay, so then you can see it's a plus 2.0. If we go back the other way, you can see how the picture is getting darker, and that's a minus 2.0. And I'm assuming Bob can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think that is measured in f-stops. So that is to be able to adjust the exposure, and when it is in the center, right there at 0.0, that's the automatic exposure. Again, to get out of this, you hit the little circle at the far left there with the plus and minus, and we're back to our controls. The next one, the sixth one, is the self timer. So right now you can see in yellow the self timer is turned off. So we have two choices for a self timer, 3 seconds and 10 seconds. So let's choose 10 seconds, and so it'll give me more time to explain what happens when you hit the self timer. So obviously the white big button here is to activate your shutter to take a picture. So I'm going to click on the white button, and in the lower right hand corner you see a countdown, 7, 6, and then you can see there's a light flashing in the front, so your people that are on the other side of the camera can tell when the timer is about ready to expire and the picture is being taken. So if I tap in the lower left hand corner, there's my picture, and I'm going to change the camera angle here, so when I tap in the upper left hand corner, the blue arrow, there is the live camera, which you can tell is a little different. And then our seventh hidden creative control here, and interestingly enough, when I was pre-producing in my pre-production rehearsal, those little joining circles had no color in them, and now all of a sudden they have red, green, and blue, also known as RGB. So I'm not sure why they didn't have color before, but if you see that, I don't know if it's a bug, but just be aware that could happen to you. Okay, so now we're going to touch the red, green, blue circles, and we are going to get filters. So we are already to the extreme side of the filters. So we have three filters that are black and white. We have noir, we have silver tone, mono, and now we're back into color. Dramatic cool, dramatic warm, dramatic, vivid cool, vivid warm, vivid, and this is normal, the original. So you can see that as we did that, the tone of the picture changed. So that's your creative control for your filters. And then again, you can see here in the far left, you see the circles as I was seeing them earlier without the little color filled in, and now they're back to no color. So I think that's a bug. So there we have all of our choices for creative controls. Now, if you don't have a late model camera, you may be wondering, what are these three little numbers above the creative controls? The one that says 1x, to the right it says 2, and to the left it says 0.5. Well, on a pro camera there are multiple lenses. So 1 is the normal lens, 2 is a 2 times telephoto lens, and the 0.5 is a wide angle lens. Now if you buy an iPhone 13, that 2 iPhone 13 Pro, that 2 changes to a 3. So on the newer phones, the newest phones, they have the 3 power telephoto instead of the 2. Now if we're on the telephoto, we can still zoom in even closer, but now we're in what they call a digital zoom. It's not an optical zoom. So the 2x is optical. That's actually the physical movement of the lens, which is the highest quality. When we go beyond 2 on this phone, or beyond 3 on an iPhone 13 Pro, then we're in digital zoom, and you can see hopefully what we call noise. You see the little the fuzzy what do they call that? Anyway, the little interference back there, that's called noise, and that is a degradation of the quality. So sometimes it'll be fine to have that noise, sometimes it's not fine. So I'm using my fingers to pinch back here. So now I'm in the optical zoom, and now I'm back to normal. So those are some creative controls that you can use. So let's see what we might have here by questions. Okay, so good. I'm glad we went over this. Bob is mentioning, as I mentioned, that some of your phones may not have all these controls. So your results may vary. And Susan has a note here that, does landscape mode depend on what you're photographing? No. When I say landscape, I mean I'm talking about the positioning of the phone. This is landscape mode. This is portrait mode. So you should be always taking your pictures in landscape mode, so you don't have those bars of blackness on either side that you have when you take a picture in portrait mode and then you display it in landscape mode. So when you sell that prize-winning photo to CNN, you want it to be landscape, because otherwise you're going to look like an amateur. So Susan goes on to say that she uses portrait mode usually. Again, to be real blunt, that's a rookie move. You want to take full advantage of the picture. So when you take portrait mode, you get black bars out here when you show it in landscape. So why waste all that beautiful technology by not filling in the spaces completely? So this is landscape mode. You get the whole picture, right? Especially if you're taking a landscape like this, you don't want a vertical shot. You want to see everything horizontally, okay? And then Susan adds that okay, well, yeah, you can certainly make your changes in editing, but then you want to you want to start off with the most data available. So when you shoot in landscape mode, you have the most data and you have more flexibility in editing. When you start out in portrait mode, you only get this much, you have less to work with. So I recommend highly, vehemently, you might say, to shoot everything in landscape mode, and then you can make it whatever you want later. But if you shoot in portrait mode and you try to make it landscape mode, then you've got much less information to work with and you lose a lot of quality. Oh, very good, Doriana. Thank you for that. The colorless circles indicate there's no filter. You're in original. So when you choose a filter, they have color, and that's why it was color, because it was on noir when I started out there. Okay, you've never seen black photos. Okay, well, we can have a sidebar on that, and I can show you. You see it on television all the time when TV stations pick up video that was shot by a civilian, a citizen, and then what they do is they kind of duplicate the actual picture and put it out here on the sides to fill in the black bars. But there's really no data out there. They're just artificially creating a landscape picture by using the portrait picture and toning it down. It's very ugly. Don't do it. Okay, well, you never know, Susan, when you might be at the right place at the right time and capture that award-winning photo that everybody wants. So do it in landscape. Okay, well, while we're talking about taking pictures, let's look at another aspect, and hopefully this is something you may not have been aware of that you're going to be aware of today. So normally when we take a picture, we hit the little white circular button there in the camera app. But did you know there are at least 5 ways to snap a picture? Way number 2 is hitting the volume button on your phone. So when you hit the volume button, so if I can bring up the camera here. So another way to bring up the camera on newer phones is when you, on your home screen, you see down here at the lower right, there's a little camera icon. So you can't just tap that. You have to kind of hold it down, do a long press. And there's my camera. Okay, so there's the white button there at the bottom of the screen. Of course, we always take pictures in landscape, so now it's on the right-hand side of the screen. So when it's on the right-hand side of the screen, you're holding the camera properly, that the lens is in the right position. Okay, so I am going to try to show you here. So here we are, we're taking a picture. Now sometimes it's awkward to try to hold the camera and put your finger here on the white button. So it's a lot easier to hold the camera like this, and then your thumb naturally falls on the volume control. So now I'm going to click over here. So watch the birdie, and when I do this, you saw it flash. I took a picture by hitting the volume control. So this was the down volume control. What happens if I hit the up volume control? Oh, look, it also takes a picture. So as you see that, and again, we've already demonstrated another way to take a picture is with the timer. Okay, so to get to the timer, I would hit the little arrow, which you can't really see, hit the timer, which is right here, and I get my choice, which you can't see, of 3 seconds and 10 seconds, which you already saw. So that's the way, a couple different ways you can to do it. You can also get a little Bluetooth remote. They're very inexpensive. I think they're less than $10, maybe even $6 on Amazon. Make sure you find one that has good reviews. And it's just a little, a little remote thing about this size. And then you can be in the picture, and you can kind of conceal it in your hand, and you can just snap it and it'll take the picture. So that's number 5. what about a bonus? So there are the 5 ways, but there's one more at least, and that is your Apple Watch. So what we're going to do here is demonstrate this, and again, it's going to be hard to see this, so I'm just going to, let's put this up here on a box so it's a little higher. So so normally, well, hey, I shouldn't say you could use a tripod. I just happen to have a tripod right here. So I highly recommend that you have some sort of tripod. A lot of you have tripods laying around. I have a lot of tripods, but this is easy to demonstrate. So we're going to put the tripod down here. We're going to adjust the iPhone holder right here. We're going to put the iPhone in landscape mode and raise up, raise it up here and clip it in. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we're going to adjust it so it's somewhat straight. Okay, so there's our camera on a tripod. Now we have here an Apple Watch, and again, I know you're not going to be able to see this very well, but hopefully you'll understand just by the demonstration. So on my Apple Watch, I'm going to hit the digital crown, which is the little button here, the round button, and I'm going to hit it one more time to get my icons. And there's a little icon, and it's a circle, and in the lower right hand corner of the circle is a camera. So I tap on that icon, and then I actually can see what the iPhone camera is seeing. There it is. It just snapped into place. So you can see the dark, I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, and of course it's sideways, so I know it's hard to see. But anyway, you get the idea. Now, I don't know if you saw that, but the 3-second timer is on there. So all I have to do on my watch is tap the 3-second timer, and it's counting down, and I had my hand in the way, but maybe you saw it flash. So it actually took a picture. So if we go back to the iPhone, which is going to show vertically because I haven't switched the picture, and we tap on the lower left-hand corner, which shows the pictures we've taken. There's that picture that I just took. So that's the 6th way of taking a picture. So let's see if we have any questions. Oops, I didn't want to do that. There we go. Okay, so we're going to move this out of the way. And for some reason, oh, I see why. I have wiped out my questions. So let's see here. Let's see if I can get rid of that. I hit the wrong button. So I think I'm in the wrong. Okay, there we go. Questions are back. Okay, Kurt says the Apple Watch also has a camera remote button, which we demonstrated. Thanks, Kurt. And Deb says, it works. What works, Deb? Okay. So, if you have any other questions about the camera or any other things, just let me know. And while we're waiting for those, let's mention a couple of things here. Please subscribe to our YouTube broadcast, and you just click on the little subscribe that's down below my picture, and also you can hit that thumbs up. So That also helps YouTube let people know, and our goal here is to help more people. Another way you can let people know, of course, is to share the GoFor Gazette, which comes to your email inbox every Monday morning about 7 o'clock. And remember, everything we do here on GoFor Lunch, live on Tuesdays, is saved to our YouTube channel. You have a link directly to that YouTube channel in the GoFor Gazette, or you can just simply go to YouTube, search for GoFor Technology. GoFor one word, technology a second word. Thank you for the thumbs up. So let's look here. And I accidentally started a different version of my eCam. So I have lost my Stream Deck and I have to do things manually. Oh my goodness. So, okay, so Deb was talking about the Apple Watch shutter work. So that is really handy. And of course, the reason for the 3-second timer is that you can bring your watch up, you can hit it, and then you can assume a normal position before the shutter trips off and you take the picture. So Deb is glad that she checked in today, and Deb, we're glad that you checked in today as well, because she has an iPhone 13 and she hadn't taken the time to figure out the photo taking. So we are helping your technology work for you, and that's exactly our goal, and I'm glad that it's working for Deb and hopefully for some other people. I do have some late breaking news here, so let's talk about that. And this is really weird. Okay, here we go. In other news, we're going to go to Safari, and let me get the Safari on my side here. So, well, that's not the other news right there. Let's see, that's not the other news. Okay, so I was looking up something here before. Okay, one of my friends / clients mentioned this to me. This is from formerly called Business Insider. It's still their URL, but they're calling themselves Insider now. So a pilot was taking off, traveling at 50 miles an hour down the runway, and he dropped his iPhone. Now, there's a whole nother story here of how his iPhone was even outside of the airplane. But what happened was, once air traffic control was notified that there was a phone on the runway, the people at the airport rushed out and they grabbed the phone and they exclaimed, "It's in perfect shape and it works. I can't believe it works." So the moral to this story, besides not dropping your phone from your airplane, and I've heard other stories where phones were dropped from a long distance up in the air. I mean, hundreds, if not thousands of feet, and survived. And I am also aware of situations where phones have been underwater for several days, in a river, for example, and sometimes in the ocean, and they have worked. So another takeaway from this is, as soon as you get your phone, actually my practice is before I get my phone. So when I order a new phone, I order a new case for the phone, because invariably, you know, the old case doesn't fit the new phone. There's something slightly different, if not it's completely different. So I have a case in my hand. I had this case right here in my hand before I got the phone in my hand. So as I unbox the phone, I put it directly into that case to protect it. So obviously I'm pretty sure this guy had a case on his phone, and I'm guessing it was a fairly rugged case. This is a case made by a company called Rockform in California. I don't know if you can read that there on the bottom. but I've been using Rockform cases for years. Very happy with them. There's also OtterBox, which is certainly a very good case, and lots of rugged cases out there. So I particularly like this little statement here. That gives AirDrop a whole new meaning. And then someone said if it was a Nokia 3310, they would have had to close the runway for repair. I won't bother going into the significance of that. But in other news, and let me know if this affected you, but when I was looking at the Business Insider website, I came across this little news, and that is Comcast, also known as Xfinity, to throw you off, is having massive outages across the country today. So let's refresh this. So this was at 10 a.m. when I checked it, so I'm going to hit the refresh little circle up here and see what's going on. So it looks like, according to this, so I went to downdetector.com, which you should always go to when you're having a problem with any web service. And so you can see here the comments are, here's one 11:30 a.m., which would have been 10:30 our time. He said his Comcast is not working. And so they also have this heat map here. So you click on this and you get to see a map of what parts of the country are being affected. So it looks like we have no heat here in Arizona. So that's a good thing. So hopefully this is not affecting you. The heat seems to be mostly in the Bay Area, with little patches here in some of the other major cities where Comcast is supposedly providing service. So if you're having problems with Comcast, check Down Detector, and it may not be about you, it's about them. So, and when you go to the heat map over here, you get tweets from the Xfinity Twitter feed, and here they're saying 3 minutes ago that earlier, Comcast is saying this, earlier some customers experienced intermittent service disruptions as a result of a network issue. We have addressed the issue, and service is now restoring for impacted customers as we continue to investigate the root cause. We apologize for those who were affected. So anyway, you should be in good shape if you are in Tucson. Of course, if there's a problem in Phoenix, that's a problem in Tucson. So let's see what's happening. What tripod do you recommend? And Bob has recommended the Gorilla Pod. So this is a rip-off of the Gorilla Pod. I recommend, as I'm sure Bob does, to get the original Gorilla Pod. But you see, the advantage of the Gorilla Pod is you can wrap it around things like trees and posts and fences, and you can, do lots of things because of these little legs are flexible. So that would be your first tripod, Gorilla Pod. Then after that, Bob turned me on to one from Manfrotto that has a pistol grip on it that makes it real easy to adjust. It's also pretty lightweight for travel. And I'll tighten that up so it doesn't flip around. So yeah, if you have any questions about tripods, you can certainly give me a call or write me an email, and I would be glad. So on tripods, there's a phrase that comes from the Zoom meeting I'm on every morning called Office Hours, which is for live media professionals. And we have a little phrase that came out of that called buy once, cry once. And what that means is you buy a good quality product, like a Manfrotto tripod, for example, and you just buy it once and it lasts a lifetime. rather than buying a cheap tripod and then a couple years later it breaks and then you buy the Manfrotto. So it's cheaper to buy once, cry once, because it was a little more expensive than you had expected or hoped for, but in the long run you've saved money because it still is working for years and years to come. Okay, so the second tripod I mentioned is a brand called Manfrotto. And I think I spelled that wrong. But if you put that into your internet search, I'm sure it'll come up. So we could actually just do that right now. Oh, Stanley, I forgot about your question. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, so Stanley has a question, and that is, should he buy the new, I'm assuming he means the new 9th generation iPad. Okay, so an iPad Pro is not a 10.9 inch. An iPad Pro is an 11 inch or a 12.7 inch. The latest iPad is called the 9th generation, which is a regular iPad. It sells for $329. It is a very nice iPad. So the advantage of buying a Pro, so one of the differences between an iPad Pro and a lower end iPad is that an iPad Pro, instead of having a Lightning connector, has a USB-C connector. So I'm looking to see if I have, but anyway, you can go back to the GoFor Gazette, and there's a PDF that shows you all the different connectors, so you can determine USB-C versus Lightning versus everything else. So the Pros have a USB-C connector, and they have technology built in, so you can do lots of things with a Pro. You could make a Pro your only computer. You can add a keyboard. Add a keyboard. Of course, you can add a keyboard to any iPad, but on a Pro, you can add a monitor. So you could have your Pro sitting here, and you could have a, if we get to the camera too, you could have a large monitor connected to your iPad, okay, like this 28-inch monitor, or you could have a 32-inch monitor, or you could have a 48-inch monitor, whatever you wanted. And you could attach hard drives, and you could attach storage, hard drives and flash drives and all that stuff. So by having a dock, you can get a dock that'll plug into your iPad Pro and give you all these other connections. So that's the big difference between a Pro and a consumer level iPad. So you have to determine, Stanley, if you need all those features. And again, a Pro is very expensive. They cost $800, $900, over $1,000, depending on how much memory you get in them. So hopefully that answers your question. A 9th generation iPad for $329 is a perfectly good machine if you're just basically going to use it for reading your email, watching YouTube videos, and Netflix. In other words, what we call content consumption. And if you're not creating things like I do, it's great for editing photos as well. So for most of us, the new 9th generation iPad is good. Now, an iPad Air is more expensive, and basically the Air has not been updated as recently as the 9th generation iPad. So the technology, the processor in the iPad 9th generation is actually better than the Air, and the Air is more expensive, and the only real advantage is supposedly it's lighter, but the weight between the 9th generation iPad and the Air, I would say, is insignificant. So if you have any more questions about that, Stanley, just let me know, and I'll be glad to dig deeper. So let me see if we have any other questions. Oh, I was going to go to Safari and talk about Manfrotto tripods. So let's go to Amazon and type in Manfrotto, and there we go. So now I'm going to let you see my Safari screen. And so here we see I just typed in MANF and it already came up with Manfrotto, and it even gave me some price ranges here, but we're going to just click on Manfrotto. So they make all sorts of tripods. Here's a more professional level one. There's a little mini tripod, which would be good. And here's the one that I like, that Bob turned me onto. And look, it's Amazon's choice. And it's only $69. Used to be $78. So if you don't have a tripod at all, this would be the one that Bob and I would probably recommend. And it's got this neat pistol grip on here, so it makes it real easy to adjust. And then it also has a camera quick release. I thought it would, so up here, you can't read that maybe, but up here it comes with a little disc that you put on your iPhone camera adapter or your regular camera. You can get multiple ones. Here they are right here. And so you can just keep these on your camera. They are a little expensive. I think they cost like $17 for each one of these guys. But again, buy once, cry once. You'll just be happy because it's so flexible to be able to change it out. So it also tilts, so you can take things in portrait. I don't know why you'd ever want to do that, but you could. So this is the guy that I think would be a good start out tripod. This lever right here is how you release the quick connect adapter. So hopefully, Susan, that answers your question about tripods. That's a Manfrotto compact action aluminum 5-section tripod with hybrid head. And it's only $69. So there you go. Okay, well, let's see. Any other questions here? Okay, so Susan, that's a good point. So the Manfrotto will work with anything. So you would have to have an adapter, okay, to use your iPhone, such as this guy here. I have another one which should be in arm's reach, but I don't see it. I like to buy a metal one, and I featured this before. And I think if you look at the bottom of the, if you look in the GoFor Gazette, I don't know where it went, but I like to buy metal ones because I've had these break if this fell over. One of my clients had this at their business, and it was on a regular tripod, and it fell over and it broke off right here. So this one actually is, you can see this one is reinforced. I'm not sure if it was this style or not. But you see here on this one is what we call a 1/4-20, which is the standard fitting for a tripod. So you would just, and it actually has another one right here, because that's how it's being attached to the tripod. So you can actually take this off and just have this portion, or you can attach your tripod here. That gives you more ways to position your phone. Okay, so that's what you would use for your iPhone, some kind of an adapter. And then your regular camera, your DSLR, your mirrorless camera, your point and shoot camera will have that 1/4-20 thread in the bottom, and that'll directly attach to the tripod. So a little lesson in tripods. Glad you asked. Glad to have Bob in on that and all of you guys. So I think we're going to call it, we are going to call it a day. I don't think, I know. So have a great rest of your week, and hopefully we'll see you back here next Tuesday at high noon for Go for Lunch. If you have any questions, you can contact me at the phone number and the email address on this screen.